students, we have learned about lots of rulers, kings, emperors of world. And also we know lots of kings, rulers, elected representatives of our different countries presently. This lesson, that is the chapter Ashoka, the emperor who gave up war, describes about a king who have much importance in history of India. Not only in Indian history but in across world too. Just like this name of this lesson suggests, that is Ashoka was the first emperor in this world who gave up or stopped waging war even after getting won many of the wars. So we need to study about what are the important features of Ashoka's administration and how did he become one of the greatest figure in world history, etc. Ashoka was the one of the greatest ruler who inscribed or prepared many inscriptions about his own administration, the steps that he taken to take care about the well-being of his people, etc. The name of Ashoka's empire was Mauryan Empire, and the founder of his empire was his own grandfather Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya found this empire before more than 2300 years ago. And in order to make his kingdom into an empire, he was supported by one of his greatest person or a supporter called Chanakya, or he is also known as Kaudilya. And many of the ideas given by Kaudilya or Chanakya to make his administration a wonderful one and to change his kingdom into a largest empire was written in a book called Ardhashastra. So who was the author of the book Ardhashastra? It is Chanakya, and the another name of Chanakya is Kaudilya. The most important cities of Mauryan Empire were Padaliputra, Takshila and Ujjain. Padaliputra was the capital of Mauryan kingdom under Chandragupta Maurya and Ashoka. Takshila was considered as a gateway to the northwest. That means people from the northwestern portion came to India through the area Takshila, and the outsiders who came to India were from Central Asia, and also they considered Ujjain as one of the important route from south to north. We studied that in early period people were traveled from one place to another for many reasons, and one of the reason was to conquer their neighboring areas by the kings. So in case of our rulers, their important journeys were mainly to capture the nearby places and to enlarge their kingdom. Do you know what is the difference between a kingdom and an empire? Kingdom is smaller than an empire, or in another word, empire is larger than a kingdom in area wise and also in the resources that they need to utilize for their nation's development, and also in case of the officials that they are using to help their administration, and the army of empire also will be larger than the kingdom. So empire is larger than a kingdom, and an empire will be included sometimes number of small kingdoms also. So a group of kingdoms makes an empire. Since the empire is a little bit larger, the rulers just like Ashoka or Chandragupta Maurya etc. appointed lots of officials in order to support these rulers. Important officials they appointed were mainly to collect taxes from the farmers, herders, craft persons and traders, those who lived in villages and in town areas. And officials were also appointed in order to check or to supervise the other officials whether they are doing their job properly, and proper punishments were also given for the officials who were disobeying the orders of the rulers. And one another important special officials who appointed by these kings were called spies. Spies were appointed mainly to supervise the other officials and also to keep a good watch on the officials in order to inform the ruler if they are doing any wrong. So good administration were maintained by these Mauryan rulers, including Ashoka. For easy administration, the empire was divided into lots of provinces. That is somewhat just like our states that we have. Our nation is divided into lots of states. Just like the empire was divided into lots of areas known as provinces. And for each provinces, an officer called governors were also appointed under the supervision of the king or the emperor. The book written by Kaudilya, that is Ardhashastra, give full details about the political administration, the appointments given made by the rulers, the taxes collected by the rulers, etc. Emperor Ashoka was one of the famous Mauryan ruler among all other Mauryan rulers, and he was a person who prepared lots of inscriptions in Prakrit language, and also he used Brahmi script. Both are common for common people, which helped the people to know whatever orders are issuing by the ruler. One of the great incidents happened in the life of Ashoka, which changed the total administrative system and the mentality of Ashoka was happened in 261 BC. In 261 BC, a war called Kalinga War or Battle of Kalinga was happened. Kalinga was a coastal area in Odisha. So, after winning the Battle of Kalinga, Ashoka visited that battlefield just as a simple visit. But the scene that he faced there were not at all a happy scene for him. All the scene that he saw there in that battlefield filled sorrow and sadness in his mind, because when he watched or when he go through that area, he noticed that lots of people lost their life. That means around lakhs of people lost their life, and more than lots of people were arrested as prisoners, and many of them were also mutilated. Some others were wounded, and many different type of difficulties were facing by people in that battlefield. So by seeing that sorrowful scene, he became very sad, and he decided to avoid conducting wars again, but to observe and to follow Dharma. That is a kind of morality and also Dharma or good deeds in his life from there again. That's why, as he stopped war and started his moral life with all kinds of good deeds for his people, including every kind of living beings, he is termed by the historians in history later as Ashoka the Great. Ashoka the Great Emperor. When he became the ruler of Mauryan Empire, he had to face many problems, including the sacrifice. That is, animal sacrifice was common during those times. As per his dharma, as he was a man of non-violence or following ahimsa, animal sacrifice was to be stopped. Then another problem was that slaves and servants were treated very badly by their masters. That also created problem in front of him, because he need to create equality among all. And also the another problem that he faced was the quarrel that he found in families among the members, that is parents, children and other members, etc. So he believed that he need to create a kind of happy peacefulness, etc. in his country and among all people. That's why lots of good messages were written or inscribed on rocks or pillars, and put all such messages in public places. He appointed a group of officials called Dharma mahamathras in order to read all that message for common people who are unable to read and understand, and to describe them what the king meant by these messages. So by this way, Ashoka tried himself to change his life and also to create a good atmosphere in his empire for all kind of people to live happily and satisfactorily. All the good messages that he put forward through these different type of methods were known as Dharma. Ashoka's Dharma were the important messages or advices, instructions given by Ashoka to his people. and he himself considered that as a father of the nation, and he believed that being a father, it is his duty to make changes in the life of people and also to advise people whenever they are doing wrong. So all kinds of punishments were cancelled, and he also started to advise those people, those who are doing any kind of crimes in his country. Along with appointing Dharma mahamathras within his empire, in order to spread his Dharma, he sent many of his messengers or Dharma mahamathras to different other countries just like Syria, Egypt, Greece and Sri Lanka. Along with these officials, he sent his own children also to all these countries to spread his messages. Such a great ruler was Ashoka. That's why we calling him as Ashoka the Great. There is no any such rulers who gave up or stopped waging war even after getting won the battle. Presently also we are hearing about many news about the world across where countries are waging war in between without having no any proper reason. But even after they are winning the war and also knowing the consequences, they are not at all ready to stop their waging war, and also still the people are troubling. But during BC period, thousands of years back, one of the ruler who came with all the ideas of non-violence or ahimsa stopped waging war being a winner and introduced all type of messages to his people to make his administration and his people more comfortable and satisfactory to his people. That's why Ashoka is known as Ashoka the Great. So children, let us stop now. Thank you. Have a nice day.